Ah, the Mesopas region. Where were we again? Yes. We've been following Roshan on a quest to liberate a mining operation to the far west of the region from an occupation of Sableye and other such lithivoric Pokemon. With that task completed, you follow him back to his lab, where he's prepared to show you the fruit of that mine's labors. A magnificent stone, unearthed there and only there thus far, that has now been refined and is ready for a demonstration. Okay, stand back, you two. This is going to be interesting. You see, I've been studying these stones for some time, comparing them to samples of other similar stones from other regions. It seems to be somewhere between the keystones found in Kalos, the wishing stars of Galar, and the Terra orbs of Paldea. It has similar properties to all three, making for a very interesting composition, and more importantly, application potential. Here, I have a new assistant that can show you exactly how these new channeling devices I call realizers work. Gladly, Roshan. Ladies, gentlemen, and every magnificent thing between and outside, this is the Envoy of Kairos, here to introduce you to the latest original mechanic planned for the Mesopas region. This is a realizer. Since Roshan told you what he's compared it to, you should know its resulting function is sort of a result between all three. For context, lore-wise, it involved the power-up and Darwinistic evolution of Megas, but it can be applied to anyone, similarly to Dynamax, with some Pokemon getting new forms out of it, much like Gigantamax and Megas, which also often come with new abilities and even new moves. A lot of people don't realize that Dynamax and Gigantamax don't actually make your Pokemon grow. It's canon that they're actually channeling the Dynamax energy into energy constructs of new bodies that they control from within, like piloting a huge energy mech. Doesn't that sound familiar? Well, to channel all that extra power that comes with this mechanic, they have energy constructs to hold that power outside their bodies and prevent harm that usually comes from using megaforms. All that extra power, that extra 100 BST they always get, has to go somewhere, and normally their bodies can't handle it, but this solves it quite nicely. Lastly, this mechanic also involves the type-changing mechanics of Terastalization, allowing for a wide variety of strategic options. But to balance that strategy, considering how overpowered the extra 100 base stat total can be, this mechanic is limited to 3 turns, much like Dynamax. So, how about I show you what the standard function of this is before we get to the new forms? For that, I need an assistant to help me demonstrate. Hockey, you ready, old pal? Alright, let's do this. Hockey, realize. For the sake of showing them all, I have Hockey cycling through example energy constructs of every type. Of course, these constructs are just examples, and if this were to ever somehow become a fan game, I would probably make 3 or 4 of each type and let the players set which ones they want to use per Pokemon. Regardless, it's these constructs that channel the extra power for them, and allow them to change their typing for similar strategies to Terastalization. If they become a type they already are, then they just get a small boost in it, but don't lose any second types they may have. So if Hockey were evolved and using the fighting type when realized, he'd still be fighting Steel, but if he became electric, he'd be just electric. But of course, you guys aren't here for the standard energy constructs. You're really here for the unique forms. So let's take a step past realization and see what happens when a Pokemon realizes their true potential, and with it, becomes idealized. Let's take this from the top, all the way back in Kanto, and work our way down with a few from each gen, so there's more to surprise you with later. Let's start with a Pokemon rumored to be getting a Mega in Legends ZA. Clefable, Idealize. So, this, right away, is an example of a Pokemon that uses a new typing to idealize. In this case, Clefable must become Flying type, but their new form becomes Flying Fairy. They've used their energy construct to replace their vestigial wings and take to the skies in earnest, so they may return to the stars they came from and fully embrace their power. And of course, this form comes with Aerialate, so you can expect Swift, Hyper Voice, and Hyper Beam to be an excellent addition to their moveset, especially since normal type moves will now become the new flying type attack Shooting Star, which is essentially a special aerial ace. Of course, I'm sure all you Nintendo fans can see what partially inspired its design. But if Clefable is idealized, then what of their shadow? Yes, I'm bringing back the dichotomy between Clefable and Gengar. This is idealized Gengar, who remains Ghost Poison and bites down on a black hole. This form is not something you want to mess with. Coming with the ability Shadow Shield, normally carried by Lunala, so you can be certain that Black Hole is going to tank the first hit and let it prepare to terrorize you. And tanking that first move will give it the perfect opportunity to use Crushing Curse, a typeless move that inflicts crushing pressure over its enemies, equaling the damage they took before using it, every turn for 3 turns. And for our last Gen 1er for now, we have a long-standing fan favorite, Gyarados. It's time that, unlike their Mega, they finally achieve their dream. Idealized Gyarados is Water Dragon, finally a dragon, as regal and resplendent as possible. Its design is, of course, inspired by Chinese dragons, with the shape of its new wings and energy construct harkening to Dragon Gates, the very same from the legend that inspired Gyarados to begin with. This one doesn't really need any new moves, because Dragon Rush just became significantly more powerful. But it does have Mold Breaker, just as Mega Gyarados did, so expect to be in a lot of pain very quickly once this vengeful dragon descends from the heavens. Moving on to Johto, let's take a look at idealized Houndoom. I'm sure a lot of you could have seen this one coming. No type changes, just a much slimmer, more agile upgrade than before. Now capable of applying its pack tactics even if acting alone. Those extra heads can separate and become entire flaming Houndoom copies, flanking their opponent with ease, and guaranteeing their prey falls swiftly. This one's ability is now pack tactics, functioning the same as Filbrood and Filbuster's ability, making every attack a 1-3 multi-hit at half damage. This may seem very risky, but they can hold a loaded dice, since this does not require holding a Mega Stone. And for something even worse, this Cerberus comes with a new move called Flanking Fire. It has a base of 70, which is halved to 35 by its ability, but it comes with the bonus of increasing its base damage by 20 with each consecutive hit. That's halved to 10, but that means 35 for 1 hit, 85 for 2, which would be the average, and if you get all 3, it's a total of 150. This may seem overpowered, but look at Population Bomb and try to tell me that again. As our second and last entry from Gen 2 for now, here comes Idealized Gliscor. I know Gliscor is Gen 4, but Gligar's Gen 2, so I still count it. They remain flying ground type, and their construct brings their terrain advantage with them at all times. A cavern ceiling protecting their sensitive eyes, and providing stalactites with which to pierce their foes with earthen fangs. Intimidation is a key factor with this one, although its ability is not Intimidate. Instead, it has a new ability called Razor Sharp, which boosts the power of all piercing and cutting moves by 30%. Interestingly, I designed this one based on a legend of a mythical beast called Girtablulu, a scorpion man that guards the gates to hell in a cave beneath a mountain. A being so imposingly tall its head remains hidden in the clouds. All too fitting for a flying scorpion Pokemon to embody, and hence the additional defense provided in this form. Moving on to Hoenn, everyone's been begging for a Mega Milotic, so I give you Idealized Milotic. As an equal opposite to the wrathful pride of Gyarados, Milotic has become a water fairy type, embodying a peaceful elegance and exuding absolute control over their surroundings through pure charisma. They of course come with Pixelate, and one with Attract will develop the new move Alluring Ascent, a beautiful dance into the sky followed by a devastating dive, and an impact that terrorizes equally to Dragon Rush, but with the side effect of those affected by Attract being unable to avoid it. The lore references for this one include several successive and simultaneous water and magic goddesses, particularly Atargatis and Nanshe, the former of which is oft depicted as a mermaid. As a second Gen 3 representative, take a peek at Idealized Absol. Mega Absol always felt like it was spitting in its Psychic Guardian's face. Giving them the Fairy type made very little sense, and the intimidating aura they exude only makes the unnecessary fear induced by their presence far worse, something the species as a whole already hates. They despise being feared as ill omens when all they want to do is warn people of disaster to save them from it. As such, I've made them Dark Psychic type, advancing their precognitive powers into full-blown Psychic typing, allowing them to communicate these disasters, and use their new energy construct Shield and Sword to defend the people they warn. Their more intimidating and armored design is based on a more accurate depiction of the yokai that inspired them, the Baizei, allowing its many horns and the 3 eyes on each side of its body, really completing the look. Being a guardian with psychic barriers, this one does keep Mega Absol's magic bounce. As our last Gen 3 rep, how about something unique? I love the unique mechanics behind Dondozo and Tatsugiri, as you may know if you watched my Christmas-themed Pokemon video. So I couldn't help but think, what if there was an idealized Pokemon that required 2 to idealize in tandem to achieve it? And so, I upgraded 2 little electric cheerleaders into a much stronger kind of poser, Henshin Heroes, now piloting a big energy mech. No, get that out of here, save it for the DLC content. So, this is both Idealized Plusle and Minun at once. They're electric fighting, and they pack one hell of a punch. You may think their moveset is likely going to suck, but Plusle and Minun in the Mesopas region are considerably stronger and more varied than their relatives in other regions, because the doubles culture here is so deeply ingrained that many generations of combat-focused magnetic rodents has produced a stronger breed with no visible biological differences, but they're far more capable than the standard. They happen to come with Volt Tackle, which is incredibly dangerous when idealized, as they have motor drive, and Volt Tackle is upgraded to Mega Joule Jump Kick, which causes them to strike themselves with a small amount of lightning during the attack, triggering a speed boost with motor drive. On top of being henshin heroes, their combined form is inspired by a popular medieval Arabic tale of a creature called Al-Miraj. It was a golden jackrabbit with a long, spear-like unicorn horn. It was incredibly heroic, the bane of monsters, demons, and dragons of all kinds. It was known to leap clean over entire mountains and spear them with its horn. Quite the inspiring rodent, and a clear choice for an idealized form. Now, before we hop over to Sinnoh, I think you guys should live up to these little heroes' expectations, and hop down to the subscribe button, the like button, and leave a comment. Maybe consider checking out the links in the description for my website, where you can find links to my Discord server and my book. Please consider buying my book. I haven't sold a copy in months because advertising is expensive and private publishing means I have to do it all myself. I really appreciate any bit of help I can get. And if you're a fan of Pokemon, I bet you're going to love a lot of the content of my book. Anyway, moving on to Gen 4. Let's start with what my boy Hockey could become. This is idealized Lucario. While Mega Lucario is powerful, it's also incredibly stressed, tense, and violent. Every move made by a Mega Lucario is done with every ounce of the user's strength, to the detriment of their control over their power. As such, idealized Lucario makes a construct of itself to channel that immense power, making it mirror and reinforce their movements. Rather than a demolishing powerhouse, idealized Lucario is supernaturally focused, their mind, body, and soul perfectly aligned toward their goals. This has granted them no guard. You may be sure to land a hit against them, but their body now has more and stronger steel plating, as well as a stronger steel skeleton. They will most certainly return your violence in kind with a devastating, unerring accuracy and skill. This form is based on one of the rarest and most dangerous states of martial arts, the Fudoshin, or immovable mind. This is also a state of mind said to have inspired Gohan's beast form. Next up, we have Spiritomb. Here, we've delved into the original novel that may have inspired them. In the classic Chinese novel, romanized as Water Margin, 108 demonic generals were banished by Shangdi, the primary god of the age. These 108 demons repent and are purified, eventually, released and reincarnated as 108 heroes, all presented in a long anthology of their deeds. Now becoming a purified amalgam of great warriors, idealized Spiritomb becomes Ghost Fighting type, and now uses its energy construct as a shape-shifting spiritual mass that can become any weapon it chooses. It deftly wields them all with the combined experience of every soul within it, making for a versatile and skilled foe. Their new ability is called Face Turn, and it turns their Dark-type moves into Fighting type. They then also turn Dark Pulse into Arsenal Wave. Their weapon construct becomes a wide array of ranged weapons that fly out in an unavoidable burst, which then leaves scattered energy weapons across the field as an entry hazard. Moving to Gen 5, let's take a look at idealized Golurk. They're quite simple, really. Everyone knows Golurk is a traditional artificial man of clay, originally produced by the Jewish faith. Their ghost typing is because of the artificial soul given to them, the spirit that animated and empowers their clay. What Golurk sees as its own ideal self is to become more human, more alive, As such, the energy construct is used to contain its spirit and power, creating a man-shaped barrier between the clay and the core, with the clay breaking away and exposing the spirit within, but not losing it as it normally would if the armor broke without idealizing. This form has become somewhat less defensive, but a lot faster. Golurk already hit like a truck. Now it's a man-shaped bullet train, and it comes with Anger Shell, so expect it to only get worse if you try to punish it. Joining Golurk from all the way in Unova, we have the alien astronaut, Idealized Beheim. They were already a strange sight to begin with, but now they can embody the shock and horror of witnessing a UFO in the dead of night, as they hover above and prepare to unleash unknowable tactics upon you. They come with the ability Gravity Shift. It grants the effects of Levitate, while also causing all enemies to lose a stage of evasiveness every turn it's out, as they're drawn into the psychic gravity well it uses to fly. Wonder Room and Trick Room are also now upgraded to a move called Weird Space, causing special and physical stats to flip, as well as reversing attack order, turning the entire battle upside down. But now, they're giving us a lift across the pond to Kalos, so we can take a look at Idealized Aegislash. Aegislash may be a magnificent blade, but its defensive properties are its most critical strategically, and any good knight is able to defend unerringly. As such, the additional 100 BST they earn is split entirely between their defenses, in both forms. Their energy construct is their new shield, which shapeshifts into a scabbard in attack form for a lighter, more streamlined state. This is of course partly inspired by the scabbard of Excalibur, which supposedly made its wielder invincible and immortal. Of course, any good knight needs a dragon to fight, and Idealized Heliolisk is now Electric Dragon. Their energy construct branches off from their neck frills, causing it to become a glowing cloak with them down, but then rise up into the shape of a massive magic circle when the frills are risen. Their new ability is Green Energy, which causes it to get a boost to all special attack damage when under any non-standard weather conditions, including strong winds from the use of moves like Tailwind. So, why don't we take them to Alola where it's always breezy and sunny, so we can check out Idealized Delmise. You see, the actual body of Delmise is the possessed algae that's covering the anchor and wheel. As such, those parts couldn't be improved, only the algae. But the energy construct could easily provide it with more ship parts, resulting in producing an entire ghost ship, with the algae grown up the mast to form a set of tattered, ghostly sails. They keep their Steelworker ability, but also can upgrade Anchor Shot to Deep Lock, which does an additional 30 base damage every turn that the enemy is locked in, slowly crushing them in Davy Jones' locker. But now that we've gotten fully over the sea to the mainland, how about a look at Roshan's personal idealized partner, Lycanroc. Any form of Lycanroc can become this perfectly fused hunting hound, its Crescent Moon construct providing the perfect tool for its new signature move. It can turn Accelerock or Counter, since Midnight form doesn't learn Accelerock, into Crush Counter. Of course, this is a bit of a reference to how Midnight Lycanroc seems to be partly inspired by Ippo Makanochi of Hajime no Ippo, the fast, aggressive, counter-focused boxer. This combines the priority and typing of Accelerock with the functions of all three moves these forms learn on level up, being Sucker Punch's priority skipping, Counter causing it to deal an additional half of the base damage of any physical move the opponent was trying to use, and a 50% chance of lowering the target's defense on hit. After that crushing defeat, I think we better skip back to the other side of the world and visit Galar. Here, we have idealized Galarian Darmanitan. Galarian Darmanitan can also be found in the northern mountains of Mesopas, and their idealized form perfectly balances their control over their two typings. By using its energy constructs as insulating barriers, it can wield severe extremes of hot and cold simultaneously, without one negatively impacting the other. They obtain power above and beyond their Zen mode without melting themselves, resulting in strong defensive ice that makes them far more durable while maintaining their speed and overwhelming strength. They can also get the ability Burning Up, which turns their normal moves into fire type, making their thrash especially dangerous. Speaking of thrashing, stop down in the mosh pit while you enjoy a mind-shattering solo from Idealized Toxtricity. Being based on a genus known for discarding and regrowing its tail, they've grown it and dropped it, then grown a new one while they wield the old one as a full guitar. The colors, sounds, and stylings of both amped and low key can be found in this form, as well as a bit of their Gigantamax form, of course. And their energy construct is a pair of speakers to really push the power of their punk rock ability. This becomes especially dangerous when Poison Jab becomes Guitar Smash. The toxic spikes on their guitar will poison their foe, but then the overpowering discordant well produced by the impact makes it the only physical sound move, getting a buff from punk rock and confusing the target with a deafening noise. Wow, we need some serious action to go with all this great music. How about we jump down to Paldea to watch Low Kicks really embrace its inspiration for a good fight. Ready, Low Kicks? Final Henshin! So, obviously, Idealized Low Kicks is the final form of Kamen Rider, completely embracing its heroic nature, and gaining a new ability called Born Fighter, which gives it stab with fighting type moves. Excellent considering Low Kicks is almost always equipped with Axe Kick, which gets a huge buff into a new move called Finishing Kick. This move does double damage if the target is already under half health. A perfect way to provide Low Kicks with a proper rider kick. With all this tokusatsu action going on, there must be a good deal of money to be made. And where there's riches, there's Idealized Goldengo. Their surfboard is now upgraded into an entire hovering palanquin, and they've become an aged, wizened spirit that shares their overabundant wealth eagerly, but also shares it a bit overzealously. Seeing as Mesopas is in a Middle Eastern region, it felt rather obvious to make Goldengo into Mansa Musa, the richest man in history, whose trip across the region, spreading his abundance of gold, inflated and crashed every economy he touched. Sadly, I haven't come up with any reasonable way to upgrade Make It Rain, and its unique ability Good as Gold can't be easily replaced, so feel free to make suggestions in the comments if you have any. But now we've gone through every canon region, so what comes next? Well, there are going to be quite a few for my own region, and I have designed a few already, but I'm not quite ready to share them. I think it's best to show those ones as we move forward with the region's plot, so you can see them more organically. Not that I'm against teasing them a bit, as you can see behind me. And yet, there is one question remaining, on both my mind and potentially yours. A couple videos ago, I introduced the combo moves mechanic. But if combo moves and idealization take place in the same region, then, well, what happens when an idealized Pokemon uses a combo move? Hit it, Jules! That took me 10 months. Worth it.